Alright guys, Scrim here back again today. Hope you're all enjoying your Thursday. The weekend is just around the corner. Today a couple of interesting things to discuss. Mainly wanted to focus the discussion around this rumour, or at least nameless, and a lot of other pros talking about on Twitter last night related to Atlanta FaZe's crazy win streak they apparently went on around the New Year period in scrims. Not necessarily playing against the best teams, but it's definitely a factor for consideration when we get into this whole discussion over the next week or so around who is the best team going into the CDL. I'll definitely do a power ranking style video when the time comes. Not what I wanted to talk about today, a few other things, but definitely a key discussion point that you guys can feast your eyes on in the comment section below. So like if you guys enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Before we get into it, wanted to mention this. You guys may have noticed if you watched the videos in the last 2 Saturdays, I've been making a couple of videos sponsored by DraftBuff, so great to those guys for helping support the channel, but also wanted to say this, we've figured out a way, we're pretty sure, of making this work in terms of predictions. So effectively the way DraftBuff works is it's a fantasy esports style thing. This season you're only allowed a league of 8 players, right, and each player has a team. So you go in, you join a league, and then exactly what happens is you go through and you have a draft. So whoever's first pick, they get to choose whatever the player they want, say like Octane or whoever exactly they want, Simp, whoever. And then it goes through the snake draft, and then until each team has a, each player, I guess, each individual has a team of 5 fantasy players. Depending on how well those players do on each individual weekend event, they get certain points and things progress like that, right? And then at the end of the day, there's a winner of the league. And that's how it works. However, of course, you can't have a league of an incredible amount of individuals because then you'll run out of good players to actually have on the teams. So the way we're going to try this, because I imagine we're going to have more than 8 people that are interested. If you guys are interested, feel free to join my Discord at the link in the pinned comment below, also in the description box. You'll find this DraftBuff League main text channel here on the left-hand side. If you go in there and type in !draft, you'll be added to the list of people we're going to try and get involved. So what we're going to try and do is set up leagues of 8 players, and then from the results from each of those teams, we're then going to collate them into a big spreadsheet and have an entire ranking, I guess, of how the individuals are doing, kind of like what we did in previous seasons for CWL predictions. This time it's going to be hopefully on a bigger and better scale, but in individual little teams, so you can kind of compete against the other 7 guys or girls or whoever in your league, but then we'll also have an overall ranking. That's the plan. Hopefully we can make it work. If you guys are interested in supporting this and helping make the CDL more interesting to watch, at least from a spectator standpoint, then feel free to join that Discord down below. And there's also plenty of other options here just to talk about whatever exactly you would want, sports, whatever. So yeah, greatly appreciate that if you would like to. Let's move on to a few things then. I wanted to say this as well, just a tweet I made yesterday related to the PlayStation 5. We've heard about the PS5 for a while now. There's a leak that went around that I didn't really talk about, that there is going to be backwards compatibility. We're not sure if this is true yet. We've heard about this, of course, I think the Xbox does it or something, but apparently it could be backwards compatible all the way to the PS1, which would be insane. I was just thinking, like, after, let's say not after this season, because I think the Black Ops 2, or not Black Ops 2, but the PS5 is meant to come out later this year in, like, November or something like that. Next season, after Black Ops 5, the season is over. Can you imagine the off-season if everyone was playing Black Ops 2? Like, that would be phenomenal. Hopefully the game isn't completely broken by then. There isn't so many hackers, as ASQD was pointing out to me, but still an interesting thing to keep your eyes on going forward. Wanted to go through this as well, and because this is something I saw yesterday, just wanted to, we can't really go through a video without showing something pretty broken about Modern Warfare. Joey Nubsy says, we're Coalition. Who really won the map? Game is great, by the way. Defeat. Time limit reached. Coalition 210. Allegiance 209. I'm pretty sure this is a, I guess it's a domination. I think he talks about it. So, who knows exactly what's going on? Macat then replies, so on LAN, who wins this? Because historically we go off victory or defeat, but if the score is telling you the opposite, what happens? I think I made this tweet a little bit bigger on this one just to make this easier for you guys to see. Let me add some context. So it isn't all what it appears. In this situation, the game had bugged when we captured a flag after the final opportunity for the score to tick. So realistically, they did win. The game just registered extra points for us. So quite an interesting clarification there from Joey Nubsy to say that, technically Allegiance did win, but the scoreboard is telling me that Coalition won 210 to 209. So what exactly is going on here? Not the ideal situation. There's some further discussion here with Clayster talking about the halves ticker point at 0.00 on the flags, so this caused the dead time, etc, etc. This is actually a good thing to incentivize activity until the very end of the half, but I guess it's just a very interesting situation. You don't want this in an ideal world, and of course Zero, of course, he was involved very much so in the FaZe versus London, FaZe versus LG London moment, and then of course the London versus LG shenanigans that followed. We're about to have another one of those moments. If you guys remember, I'm pretty sure it was on, what was the name of the map? Seaside, Control, not ideal. I made a video of that way back in May. I'm sure some of you guys remember it. So here we go then, Anthony Nameless Wheeler. Atlanta FaZe went on a 52 map win streak in scrims, then lost one map and went on a 42 map win streak. Now, what the hell's going on here? This is pretty crazy, and let's put this into context. This didn't happen just last week. Some of you guys may have been watching scrims. I think some of them are still streamed, or at least people, figure out and hear what the results are. I think they played Chicago not too long ago and lost a couple of maps, and the Dallas Empire as well are definitely the competitive teams. Those are the three teams right now that people have been talking about. Priester even did his power rankings a few days ago, or at least on stream, and he reckons Atlanta FaZe is the best team in the game, and of course he's on the Atlanta FaZe. That would make sense, but there's also another couple of reasons to think that Atlanta FaZe will be incredibly good, and it's not surprising that they will be when you look at this meta shift in a way that has happened over the last few weeks. The meta shift is something that I haven't really talked about because it's happened so slowly to the point where it kind of slipped the mind at least to discuss in a video. But it's no secret that the game went from being AR-centric with, 3 M4s, 2 MP5s, when people even were still using the MP7 right at the start of the game, which I always found strange because I always thought the MP5 was better, but a lot of the pros preferred the MP7 at the start. They've since rescinded that, and now it's clearly MP5 dominated. The meta now is pretty much 4 MP5s on every map you're going to see, which is crazy to think about. Usually as the game goes on throughout the year, people start playing faster, people start to be able to use the movement to a better ability to get around the map quicker with the SMGs. We wouldn't expect it to happen this quickly. And Clayster says, wonder why. Now, I wonder exactly what he's implying here, because firstly, he could just be saying, look, this slide cancelling glitch that apparently Atlanta FaZe have been using to the best of their ability. However, there's also highly rumoured that Clayster's Dallas Empire even have also been using, and Hukeli Shotzi have been abusing this slide cancel feature where you can double tap slide and then jump and stop you sliding, or at least stop the slide out animation so you can shoot almost immediately. That apparently affixes in the works that if you guys haven't watched the video where I talked about that already. But also Clayster could be talking about the meta change here. Just to go through a couple of things before we go elsewhere, who beat them in the map, bro? Seattle. Now, Gunler says Seattle Path to Pro did the deed, not the main team, which kind of gives an indication here of exactly what teams Atlanta FaZe was scrimming. Of course, you have to scrim against whoever's going to scrim against you, but at the same time, this 52-42 map win streak of, what is this, work out as like 94 in 1, that overall streak is not necessarily against the best teams in the game, and apparently Path to Pro managed to take a map off them to break the streak. And as Simp says here, of course, on the Atlanta FaZe, it was right before New Year's. This wasn't exactly very close. The first streak ended on the 30th of December, as EasyMac points out. And let's talk a little bit more about that SMG meta. So the 4 SMG meta is now pretty much in full force. On most maps, you will see 4 SMGs be used. It's very common, and it's kind of something you would expect. Who knows to what degree that's to do with the slide cancel. When it gets fixed, maybe it'll drop down to 3 SMGs. But I think people have realized how strong the MP5 is, kind of how broken it is, and especially the way you can use the movement in this game. The M4 actually isn't as strong as people thought about initially, because of course speed in Call of Duty is so important. That's one of the main things that separates professional players from your standard average Joe, I guess, is that they can use the movement. They know when to sprint, they know when to get around the map quickly. Like, professional players move quicker, like far quicker than your average guy, because they know when to make the best out of it. And, of course, it helps with map control if you can fly around a corner and bait for your teammate, for example, especially given the kind of spawn, I guess, squad spawning, they call it, spawns that happen in this game, where one player spawns up, another couple guys spawn behind you on your team, and you can really use that movement to your advantage. Much easier to do that if you've got an MP5 in hand. And just to mention real quick, this is the Seattle Academy roster, supposedly. So Proto and Panda are the main subs. They've also got Spoof, Super, and Vivid. So this may have been the caliber of teams that Atlanta FaZe was scrimming to get this win streak. So, of course, that's obviously something for consideration. And as Octane says here, Modern Warfare is being played with 10 MP5s on the map, but don't worry, sub players, the gun's balanced all right. So I guess Octane is saying that on some maps, in certain situations, MP5s are where it's at. And I think I saw a clip the other day of Octane getting beamed by Envoy all across St. Petrograd by an MP5, and Octane had the M4. Sometimes the MP5 can do some ridiculous things, and it's obviously also very good up close, and with the headshot multipliers and everything in the game, it makes the gun very, very strong indeed. And understandable why so many of them are being used, and apparently even up to 10 on some maps. And that's what I talk about really with the attachment variety. If you want to make your MP5 a little bit longer range, you can be a player that knows you're going to play a little bit slower than your really cracked out SMG who's going to go in first, but you can use an MP5 and have good success with it if you set up the MP5 to play a little bit slower. It's still very strong depending on what attachments you put on. So definitely that's where the game works. And of course Octane's in the situation maybe almost like last year with the ICR, how some people said the ICR was great, but to be honest, compared to where the Sorg was at the end of the title, seeing like 3 Sorgs on a map, 1 Maddox and 1 ICR, using the ICR was difficult to get a lot of action out of. It might be a similar situation here with the M4 in hand, where yes, you're looking over your teammates in that kind of situation, but at the end of the day, the guys with the MP5s are completely dominating the game and sprinting around corners, and it's tough to get 2 pieces. That's something that we might have to consider. And also just to mention this, of course, this win streak is quite a while ago. To what degree does it matter, of course, when we think about, yes, it was a while ago now. Method says, of course, he's on the Toronto Ultra, just smoked Atlanta 8 maps in a row, GG's. Ben Nassim says, not sure about that one, because he's related to the FaZe Clan team, so, well, at least he was related to the FaZe Clan team, so who really knows anymore? It says that he's working with the esports engine nowadays, so, you know, who knows exactly what's going on. To what degree do you guys read into this? Just a couple of things more to mention then before we finish off the video. This from the Los Angeles Guerillas Classic Twitter video player. They have this little video. It's honestly kind of cool promotion. So they say the COD League is coming live to LA. Tickets are now available for the LA home series at the Shrine Expo Hall, March 7th to the 8th. And they have, you know, eggs and slasher facing off here. So pretty cool to see. I like the way they've advertised this. At least the 2 organizations are coming together to help promote this, because Los Angeles Guerillas and OpTic Gaming LA are both hosting at the same time. So cool to see. I like content like this. This is a pretty good rivalry. Got a video coming soon about the biggest rivalries in the CDL this year. This actually wasn't one I mentioned, but I had another like 12 to mention, so definitely some spicy stuff. Just to mention this, some Intel Call of Duty, because Chrome definitely keeps up with things in the Call of Duty scene. Wanted to say that I had a couple of questions about like where the matches are going to be streamed. I imagine it's going to be streamed on twitch.tv/Call of Duty, because I think they did some Modern Warfare like kickoff kind of gig. They did that over there a couple of months ago now. That's where they've been streaming some of the Modern Warfare stuff. Who knows exactly where it's going to be there, what platform it's going to be on. You know, who knows whether esports will try and some point move to a pay-per-view model. Don't think that would go down very well. But as Crone says here, nothing officially has been announced as to where this is going to be streamed, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Leave all your thoughts below. I'll see you next time.